The lands and waters where we gather are the ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples who have been here since long before the first settlers and colonizers arrived. We invite you to think of the people right now who are the peoples of your area. They have lived with love and care in relationship with this land as kin, as family. We acknowledge the long and painful history that we as church have had with Indigenous peoples and the land. Our work now is to do our part in building right relationships. In this moment, we are also being called to stop, remember, and acknowledge the violence caused by overlapping histories and legacies of racialized slavery and oppression. May these acknowledgments renew in us a commitment to live with love and respect for all peoples and creation.
We light this candle as a sign of God's Spirit at work in the world. I'm coming to you from Mount Pearl, Newfoundland and Labrador, and I would like to respectfully acknowledge the territory in which we gather as the ancestral unceded homeland of the Beothuk, and the island of Newfoundland as the ancestral unceded homeland of the Mi'kmaq and the Beothuk. I would also like to respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather is a traditional Mi'kmaq territory, and we also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and culture of the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit people of this province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Let us join together in our call to worship. At the very beginning of the earth, the waters of chaos covered the everything.
God brings order where there is chaos.
God created the land and breathed life into the land. Then God created humans to be helpers.
God brings order where there is chaos.
Then time passed until the time of Noah. God flooded the earth, then gave the promise never to do it again.
God brings order where there is chaos.
Jesus walked into the rushing waters of the Jordan, an act of faith that brought the fullness of the human experience.
God brings order where there is chaos.
In difficult times, we remember God's presence and unite to bring healing to all the world.
And we answer God's call to work to bring order from chaos.
Our first hymn, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms.
What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace is mine, leaning on the everlasting arms. Leaning, leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Leaning, leaning, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how sweet to walk in this pilgrim way, leaning on the everlasting arms. Oh, how bright the path grows from day to day, leaning on the everlasting arms. Lean, Jesus, safe and secure from all alarms. Lean, Jesus, leaning on the everlasting arms. What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms. I blessed peace with my Lord so dear, leaning on the everlasting arms, leaning on Jesus, leaning on Jesus, safe and secure from all alarms, leaning on Jesus, leaning on Jesus, leaning on the everlasting arms, leaning on Jesus, leaning on Jesus, safe and secure from all alarms, leaning on Jesus, leaning on Jesus, leaning on the everlasting arms.
Let us join together in our prayer of approach. Let us pray. As a deer longs for the flowing streams, so my soul longs for you, O God, and my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. God, our tears flow at the changes we see around us and within us. We feel scared. We feel powerless. We look around. Where can we find hope? We pray for mindful acceptance when we hear of the latest cries, not the placid acceptance that leads to complacency, but acceptance that motivates and empowers us to respond with clarity, competence, and faithfulness. Refresh our bodies, our minds, and our spirits, so we can return to the world and drench it with compassion, love, and hope. Amen. We will now sing from More Voices the hymn, Water Flowing.
Water flowing from the mountains, water flowing o'er the earth. Water comes to us so precious, living water gives us birth. Drink deep, this source of life. Drink deep and know, for living water sings, and living water brings the love that makes our spirit grow. Water rushing down the rivers, water rushing to the sea. Water comes to us so precious, living water makes us free. Drink deep, the source of life. Drink deep and know, for living water sings, and living water brings the love that makes our spirit grow. Water springing from the dry place, water springing in the sun. Water comes to us so precious, living water for each one. Drink deep, this source of life. Drink deep and know, for living water sings, and living water brings the love that makes our spirit grow. For living water sings, and living water brings the love that makes our spirit grow.
Hi, I'm Reverend Heather Sanford, Regional Minister for the First Dawn Eastern Edge Regional Council, and I've been asked to do the theme conversation for our worship service today. And as I was thinking about it, I was wondering if you remember, or if you've ever been in one of those mazes, like a corn maze or a hay bale maze, where the sides are up so high that you can't see over it. I must confess, I don't like those at all. I like to know where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. And I find those mazes to be uncomfortable and even a little scary, particularly when you reach a dead end, especially if it's been like your third dead end in a row and you don't know if you're ever going to get out. But we eventually do, don't we? And I've been thinking about that. In a sense, the past few months have kind of felt like being in a maze. Not knowing when it will end and not knowing what will happen and how we'll get there. We have all experienced some loss during this time. There's been a loss of school. Schools have been closed, so we don't see our teachers and our friends in the same way that we used to. Our workplaces, some of us are working from home, and we don't see our colleagues as often as we used to. And maybe most significantly, our church buildings have been closed. And we have had to do church in a different way and stay connected in a different way. Our scripture reading today is about Noah's Ark. And I think it's a very significant and a very good reading for this time. Noah, with all the faith in God, built an ark, brought his family and all the animals on board, and then God sent the rains. And it rained for 40 days and 40 nights until it stopped. And I am sure during that time, Noah was probably wondering if this was ever going to end. And once he felt that the waters were receding, he sent a dove out. And that dove came back with a twig, a sign of hope that the waters were receding, that the tops of trees could be seen, and that soon they would be able to walk on dry land again. For us, during this time, we have had, I hope we've had anyway, some signs of hope, some signs that God has been with us. And it could be in the phone call from a friend. It could be in a Zoom family gathering or a Facebook event. Or it could be in one of our worship services. We have and we listen to our authorities. And so we know that we are getting ready to open things up a bit more. More and more stores are able to open. And by the time you see this, we will have all had haircuts, hopefully. Signs of hope. Signs that we are beginning the phase of living with this virus. And I believe that just as God was with Noah, God is with us in the midst of all that we face, particularly now. And And so may God bless you wherever you are and however you are feeling this day. Amen.
As we honor the water which we can't live without, we remember and honor all those who stand for the good of creation, and we offer prayer for them and for ourselves. Let us pray. Holy One, we need to ask for your forgiveness. It seems like we are all too often part of the problem. We are complicit, sometimes actively and sometimes passively, with systems of profit and destruction, systems that break down rather than build up, and have wreaked havoc on your most vulnerable people and places. When we allow ourselves to realize the harm we are a part of, the damage we have participated in, we are overwhelmed. We share these feelings with you now. We are sorry for the part that we have played and for the times when we have not acted as we should have. We want to do better. Help us to do better. Redeem us. Change us into hope bearers, light sharers, caregivers. You promise us love. We promise to love you and this world in return. Amen. God's love is new every morning and flows to us like a river. Know that you are drenched in God's love this day and every day. Amen. However we approach this Bible, it confirms our identity as Christians and provides us with stories and literature through which God continues to speak. It is through Scripture that we frequently hear the Word of God, naming, calling, challenging, and redeeming us. The Spirit of God uses this literature and metaphor to speak to our spirits, inviting us into wholeness, renewal, and newness of life. So now let us listen to the ancient words, so that the living Word of God might be heard amongst us afresh and anew.
Let's hear now from Genesis, the story of Noah. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw that the earth was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Now I am going to destroy them along with the earth. Make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark, and finish it to a cubit above, and put the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For my part, I'm going to bring a flood of waters on the earth, to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing, of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every kind into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every kind shall come in to you, to keep them alive. Also take with you every kind of food that is eaten, and store it up, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. And the waters swelled on the earth for 150 days. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, and every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth went out of the ark by families. Psalm 104. O God, how manifold are your works! There lies the great and mighty sea, teeming with living things both great and small. All these look to you to give them their food in due season. But when you hide your face, they despair. When you take away their breath, they die and return to dust. May your glory, O God, endure forever. When you look at the earth, it trembles. I will sing to God as long as I live. I'm reading from Revelations 22, verses 1 to 5. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb through the middle of the street of the city. On either side of the river is the tree of life with its 12 kinds of fruit, producing its fruit each month, and the leaves of the tree are for healing of the nations. Nothing accursed will be found there any more, but the throne of God and of the Lamb will be in it, and his servants will worship him. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads, and there will be no more night. They need no light of lamp or sun, for the Lord God will be their light, and they will reign forever and ever. Thanks be. This is Matthew 28, verses 1 to 10. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake. For an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly, Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me."
Let us pray. Living God, eternal Spirit, let your bright, intoxicating energy, which fired those disciples long ago, fall upon us to turn the world again. Amen.
Who remembers Paul Harvey? I have to admit, I actually had to look up his name, find him on the internet, because I could remember him, but not who he was. But I'll tell you what I did remember. I remembered his tagline. And now you know the rest of the story. Yep, he was pretty ambiguous personality when I was younger. One radio station or another, sometimes multiple radio stations, carried his broadcast. And you could be driving hither and yon, and the radio would come on, and there would be Paul Harvey filling in the details on a story about one person or another, one set of circumstances or another, always finishing with that one line. And now you know the rest of the story. I wonder what Paul Harvey would write about the story we're living right now. Of course, we don't know what the rest of the story is or what it's going to be. It could be a short story or a long story. It could be a novella or a full-length, super-duper, hardcover, thick, over 1,000 pages novel. Because let's be honest here, we are far from the end of the story that we're currently writing, which is why I picked the story of Noah for my reflection today. A couple of weeks ago, a friend and a colleague was having one of those days. We're all having lots of those ourselves. She sent me a message linking our current pandemic mindset with the story of Noah. I have to admit, I was intrigued. So I dug out my copy of the Revised Common Lectionary and began researching how much of the story of Noah we read in our 3-year cycle. It came to me pretty quickly. We don't know the rest of the story. Yes, we know that God paid Noah a visit while he was sipping his tea after dinner one day, following a hard day at the office. And God said to Noah, "You must drop everything and build me a boat. The world is about to change, and I need you," God says. "And you and the family and a bunch of stinky animals are going on a cruise." Noah, always faithful, said okay. And then he set about building a boat and collecting a fair number of smelly animals to go in it. But then, reading in the lectionary, we skip a whole bunch of the story until we get to the words, "The waters rose over the earth for 150 days. Wow, 150 days. That's a lot of days. And it's a lot of story that got left out. The 7 days here and the 5 days there. You see, I tend, and I think a lot of people do, to think of the story of Noah and the 40 days that it rained. And that's understandably because the number 40 is a very important number in the Bible. Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days. The Israelites and Moses roamed around the desert for 40 years. It's a big, important number. And sometimes these other numbers tend to get lost in the shuffle. Well, At least for me, they do. But 40 days isn't the rest of the story, because when we use the lectionary, we skip another bunch of stuff to where the earth is dry and everybody left the boat and, well, for the sake of brevity, didn't live happily ever after. But that isn't the rest of the story, because a lot of time passes between the 150 days and the dry land. Because the way I read the story, it took another 150 days for the water to recede again, depositing Noah, the boat, the family, the birds, the creepy crawlies, and the animals at the top of Mount Ararat. Now, Mount Ararat is high, 5,127 meters. That's 16,854 feet. That's a lot of water still messing up the place. It's going to take some time for all that water to disappear. It does, but it takes an excruciating long time. According to the story, the water decreased gradually until the 10th month. Yes, you heard me correctly. Until the 10th month. And then, see, there's a lot more to the rest of the story. Because after 40 days, Noah sent out a raven. And then Noah sent out a dove, but the dove came back. And then Noah sent out a dove, and it came back with an olive branch. And then Noah sent out another dove that did not come back. It was only then that Noah knew it was safe to leave the boat, to stop cruising around, and to find terra firma again. So what's the point? As of June 18th, COVID-19 has infected 8,478,580 people. Of them, 452,231 have died. Some 4 million people remain ill with COVID-19, and some 4 million people have recovered. So what's the point? Well, we're not really in that different a situation than poor old Noah was. We may not be on a boat with no land in sight, surrounded by water, but the lives that we were living, well, they certainly have been changed. There's no doubt about it, the earth has shifted beneath our feet. And boy, that first 40 days, that was hard. And we wanted it over, and we wanted everything to go back to the way it was. And some people claimed it was God's judgment, and some people blamed Satan, and some people said that God would have us back to normal in no time. But if it's one thing the ancient story of Noah teaches us, it's that we must be patient. It's gonna take some time. If we watch, we will see signs that the danger is passing. The rain will stop falling, but that isn't the rest of the story. We will still wait, and we will still watch, and eventually we will find ourselves on a mountaintop, watching the waters recede from the safety of our boat, whatever it may be. And we will again be patient, watching for signs and sending out ravens and doves and waiting to see if they come back again. Until the day comes when we can step off the life raft that has kept us safe and find a firm footing again. And during all of that waiting and all of that watching, we can know that, like Noah and his boatload of refugees, God is with us. We are not alone. God is with us. Thanks be to God. And that is the rest of the story. Amen.
We are not alone. We live in God's world. We believe in God, who has created and is creating, who has come in Jesus, the Word made flesh,
to reconcile and make new,
who works in us and others by the Spirit. We trust in God,
We are called to be the church, to celebrate God's presence,
to live with respect and creation, to love and serve others, to seek justice and resist evil, to proclaim Jesus crucified and risen, our judge and our hope.
in life, in death, in life beyond death, God is with us.
We are not alone. Thanks be to God.
We will now sing from More Voices 182, the hymn Grateful.
Grateful for the life you give us, thankful for your holy Son, joyful in your Spirit flowing over all, O God of love. Grateful for the bread of heaven, thankful for your holy word, joyful in your mercy flowing, we will praise you. You are more than we imagine, ancient, holy, living God. Even when we doubt your presence, you are faithful to your word. Grateful for the life you give us, thankful for your holy Son, joyful in your Spirit flowing over all, O God of love. Grateful for the bread of heaven, thankful for your holy word, joyful in your mercy flowing, we will praise you. May our lives proclaim your justice, may our voices sing your praise, may our hands work in your service to the glory of your name. Grateful for the life you give us, thankful for your holy Son, joyful in your Spirit flowing over all, O God of love. Grateful for the bread of heaven, thankful for your holy word, joyful in your mercy flowing, we will praise you.
During this time, there are many ways to give to your local community of faith. Most of your communities of faith will accept e-transfers, or you can mail in your post-dated checks. You can drop your checks off at the local congregation. Canada Helps is also another way of forwarding a donation to your local community of faith. We thank you all who have given to your church in this most difficult time so that your church may continue its ministry. We are called not to try to preserve the moment of God's intervention in our world, but to learn from it. Let us respond to God's ever-changing and ever-challenging presence with our gifts that make ministry possible. Let us pray. Great and Holy One, as we sojourn through the world, may we be ever mindful of leaving a light footprint, to give generously, and to care for one another. Multiply our gifts and our works, that they may amplify your beauty and your grace. Amen. Let us join together in prayer as we pray for ourselves and for others. Let us pray. Creating God in this world made silent by disease and fear, may our words leave enough silence for your voice to be heard, a space broad enough to hold prayers for all the world, and a place deep enough for us all to gather in your love. We place a silence here for conflict large and small, where only peace and time and love can heal. We place a silence here for all who hurt so deep that no words can ever repair, where only peace and time and love can heal. We place a silence here for all the injustice in our world, for actions that marginalize and discount, where only peace and time and love can heal. We place a silence here for all victims and survivors who can never hear the I'm sorry as they struggle for wholeness, where only peace and time and love can heal. We place a silence here for everyone touched by COVID-19, whose days are confusing and confused, where only peace and time and love can heal. Creating God in this world made silent by disease and fear, may our words leave enough silence for your voice to be heard, a space broad enough to hold prayers for all the world, and a place deep enough for all of us to gather in your love. Amen. We will now sing More Voices 163. If you have your More Voices with you, River Running in You and Me.
River running in you and me, Spirit of life, deep mystery, dancing down to the holy sea. River run deep, river run free. River laughed on my birthing day, Wind and water joined in play, soaked my soul in a shining spray. River run deep, river run free. River, cry my name to me, lend me hope and memory. Sing me the story of a shining sea. River run deep, river run free. I stand on the edge looking down, too scared to swim, afraid I'll drown. Give me the courage to journey on. River run deep, river run free. Journey on far from my home. River, break this heart of stone. Teach me to love, make me your own. River run deep, river run free. Hold me close on the day I die. Bear me up when my soul is tired. Carry me home on the rising tide. River run deep, river run free. River singing in you and me. Spirit of life, deep mystery. Catch us up in your melody. River run deep, river run free.
Live God's joy, letting yourself be led into a whole and complete life. Listen to your heart, filled with the love for God and creation, bursting with song. Notice the smallness of the hummingbird and the vastness of the sky. Hear the sound of the water as it moves to the ocean, and the lull of the waves as they beat against the shore. Great and lasting evidence of God's wonder. Amen.